basically, what I'm now going to go through is with regards to these matters that I'm dealing with now. Basically, I have to unfortunately talk about the workers' compensation matter and a previous matter that occurred many years ago, back in 1997, with regards to corruption in the Queensland police. So I might start with that right now. Sorry, I've got PTSD. I'm really struggling at the moment. Like I don't know. Like I'm really concerned that these people are going to get away with this, and like that's why I'm trying to reach out to people right now. But there's circumstances that occurred back in 1997. There was a bikie shootout in Mackay, and they sent police from Brisbane down there, and they were part of a major events unit, or sort of, they were obviously going there for this bikie shootout. Now, at that time, my brother had just turned 18, and I'd taken him to Airlie Beach to go out for the night, and what ended up occurring is we were assaulted by approximately 10 to 12 police officers. Now, at the time, we hadn't done anything, but being that there was, so many police officers and we were just young fellas, I was still an apprentice, I believe, at the time. Or maybe I had just finished my trade. I'm not 100% certain on that, but basically what ended up occurring is that, both of us were attacked, but the point of this is that there's a police officer that was involved in these matters, and I can prove that by these documentations here. If you can see it, there's you'll see the B Price. It's just there. It's a police officer by the name of Benjamin Price. If you look up on YouTube, this man was just last year, I believe. I'm trying to get that to focus. He was actually prosecuted for torture and other offences that he had committed against people, whereby he had stuck a fire hose down a bloke's throat and like basically waterboarded him, and it's torture, and done other things to a young lady where he picked her up by her hair and all of this sort of thing. Now, at the time when I was assaulted, I wasn't even spoken to by the police. They'd never even said to me, like they never asked my name, they never even talked to me at all. I was grabbed by behind in a choker hold. I wasn't doing anything wrong. They claimed that I was yelling and all of this, but it's absolute bullshit. It's just lies. And so anyway, what ended up happening is I got grabbed in a choker hold. Another police officer got hold of my left wrist and basically bent my wrist down backwards until my hand was touching the back of my forearm, and caused serious injury to my left wrist at that time. Now, I basically went to the hospital, and you can probably see, but in that statement, I basically am telling the medical professionals that I had been assaulted by the police, and they're reporting with regards to my injuries to my wrist at that time. And, unfortunately, my brother and I, we were up against multiple police officers. At that time, there was no body cameras or CCTV cameras, and we had no ability to fight these corrupt criminals, but finally that guy has actually gone to prison where he belongs, because he is a danger to people and he's a psychopath in my view, and he's the guy that attacked me in the first place. Okay, so now moving on to the WorkCover thing. I got injured in 2005, and as a result of that injury, I was put on to WorkCover Queensland, and basically I was then meant to be receiving treatment through their organisation, and all of these things are evidenceable, both at law and just in fact by documentations that are available now. What ended up occurring is that WorkCover Queensland basically had stopped giving me any financial support, and I was at that time trying to get I was doing study for personal fitness training, and I had to pay for that, and as a result of being cut off from their financial support, I could no longer afford to do that. So I was forced to actually seek employment, and I had talked to my doctor about that, and the doctor was doing a review for WorkCover at that point in time, and in that medical report, basically he stated that both he and I didn't think that I would be able to return to work with my injuries, because I've got basically injuries to my wrist that they dislocate, and I'm a carpenter by trade. And so what's ended up happening is that basically I've gone and I've attempted to return to work. Within 3 days, my wrists were dislocating flat out, and I've then been, I think I contacted them or they contacted me, don't quote me on that at this point in time, but basically I got in contact with WorkCover Queensland, and this lady then said to me that their intention is to finalise my claim. And I said to them, that's ridiculous, like my wrists are dislocating and whatnot at this point in time. And at this time I hadn't seen the medical report from that doctor, so I didn't know what it said at all. But basically what they've done then is, in order to finalise the claim, is they've got some doctor that was actually at WorkCover Queensland, and they've called him an external medical officer, which if he's at WorkCover Queensland, he's not very external, is he, But anyway, this doctor has, based on the report, which, in fact said that if I fail to return to work, further medical treatment would be required. But this doctor has determined that WorkCover Queensland should finalise my claim. And WorkCover Queensland has done this in order to create a secondary claim against the employer that I worked for 3 days, despite the fact that there was no incident or accident or anything that occurred on his job site. It was simply that my wrists were still injured, And so anyway, that's what they've done, is they've gone about and intentionally created what, in my view and understanding, is a fraudulent claim against this employer. And I was actually forced by QComp and WorkCover Queensland to do this, which is crazy, because QComp's meant to be the regulatory authority for the workers' compensation scheme. Well, it was back in that time in 2005, but they actually worked with WorkCover Queensland against me, and in order to create a claim against this employer, which is a fraudulent claim. But WorkCover Queensland on the 7th of December 2005 basically got this doctor, a Dr. Cabell, to basically produce this for them. And basically what it says is that I've got 0% impairment to my injuries, and you can see it's on a WorkCover document. Basically what he said is, based on the medical evidence, hang on, I'll read it from this other document. It's he says, based on the medical evidence, the injury has ceased. Dr. Gilpin has said there is no impairment. thus permanent injury 0%, code 1999. Now, I've never seen this doctor at all in any way whatsoever, but yet WorkCover has got this doctor to work with them in order to finalise my claim and to create a secondary claim against the other employer. This is conspiracy to defraud. It's actually a crime. Now, I've gone to the Crime and Misconduct Commission with regards to these matters, and what's ended up occurring is that the Crime and Misconduct Commission has effectively allowed WorkCover Queensland to investigate themselves for these matters. Now, I'll just attempt to show you these documents. So this is, you can see it's WorkCover document, whatnot. Now on this document, basically what it's talking about is what is being investigated and whatnot by the Crime and Corruption Commission. I don't know if you can see that. It's really not focusing very well, so I'm sorry about that. But basically, this is another document from WorkCover Queensland, and it's from the CMC liaison officer at WorkCover Queensland, basically, and regarding the investigations that were taking place at that time. Now, I don't know if you can see them probably, but these are the things that they basically reduced what I was actually saying to suit their own agenda, and did not properly, put their investigations forward. They have fraudulent lodgement of a claim as part of the investigation. They've put criminal behaviour conspiracy between WorkCover Queensland and QCOM, legal discussions, and regarding Irene Violet and her conduct as a CEO, part of the CEO team at WorkCover Queensland, who was involved in these matters. And there's a fellow by the name of Julian Fricaro, who appears to be now working in the context of writing legislation for WorkCover Queensland, but whom was specifically involved in these matters and the conspiracy to finalise my claim and deny me medical treatment at that time. Now, at the end of the day, it was found that by the CMC liaison officer that there was no crime or anything committed by WorkCover Queensland, but as I said, it's a conflict of interest, firstly, and secondly, it should have been the police or the Crime and Misconduct Commission themselves that were investigating these matters, because it is actually corruption and crime at a very high level, because WorkCover Queensland is an organisation that is in fact owned and by the state of Queensland and is run under the Attorney General's office, the Department of Justice and Attorney General themselves, and they are allowing them to investigate themselves, which is insane, really. But anyway, that is what occurred. I have other emailed information pertaining to these matters, which is addressed to a fellow by the name of Robbie McLean, who was the CMC liaison officer at WorkCover Queensland. And basically, this is emails between myself and him whereby I'm talking about, the corruption that has taken place with WorkCover Queensland and these doctors. But yet, at the end of the day, there's nothing done, and basically WorkCover Queensland not only get away with crime, but they also get away with not ever paying compensation. So I'm left in poverty because of this corruption within their organisation and the state of Queensland.